Okay. So, Danni, what I've noticed in the last few months, you have really like dropped, I don't know what it is, you've dropped a whole lot of BS stories, these baggage. You're just standing up and shining. You're just standing up going, I've got no time for that stuff that was pulling me back. And I can see it like there's no barrier between what it is that you want to say, the truth that you want to say, and then bringing it out into the world. And it's like, it's inspirational. Like I can feel that, what you feel inside yourself, and it comes out in the language that you're speaking, and it's interacting with the people that you're around you. And it's like, I just keep on seeing this sort of web, flashing up. And I think that's the biggest part, right? When you shine bright, you give other people permission to shine as well. And, but, and it's funny because I see that on the other side of you winning. What did you win? Tell me, what was that?
I won gold for the wellness Mompreneur. Yeah.
Woo! And I just really saw you like claiming that crown. But Susie was just asking, like what led up to that. So tell us more, because there's plenty of backstory behind it.
Yeah, totally. And I think now that you've said, that I really claimed that award. I think what I've been through allowed me to claim that award, because in the past I've won awards and done amazing things, but I've really I've just sort of hidden away from it. But so I guess in 2021, it's been years and years of work, so it hasn't just happened in 1 year either. I've just really looked into not just the positive thinking side of personal development and working towards my goals and things like that, because I was doing all of that and I was doing all of that really great work, but nothing was really shifting. Okay, she doesn't want to hear me talk. And so then I decided to start looking at my shadows, which is really like, it's the part of you that, isn't serving you, but you kind of get a little bit of pleasure out of it. And so I started really looking at my shadows and thinking, okay, what is it that like is holding me back, and why am I not achieving my goals? And then I realized, and this goes way back to, it probably manifested when I was married to my ex-husband, because he was abusive and all of those things, and like that real victim mentality. And I realized that, like, sort of when I'm the victim and, oh, this isn't working for me, and oh yeah, I got this award, but please don't look at me type of thing. Like I kind of got a little bit of a pleasure out of that, which is so hard to face. because
is it like, no, don't tell me how great I am. Do tell me, but no, don't tell me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Why isn't everyone thinking I'm great? And it was like that type of thing. Like I wouldn't let people know my achievements, and then I would be upset because people wouldn't know or recognize my achievements. It's just crazy stuff. So I did a lot of work, and especially like through the support of you and Kylie, I did a lot of work through that, and just sat with it for a really long time, hit rock bottom, allowed that to sort of flow through. And then I started making steps towards stepping into who I want to be. And so instead of like, if I had, like, I guess we can use Mum for a really great example. So I won that award, and just really celebrating that and making the most of it. So then we went to a conference. There was a conference up the coast for that. And you didn't have to go, because you could still get your award sent to you. And before this, I probably would have got my award sent to me and been like, oh yeah, I got this, and put like a little picture up on social media. But I'm like, no, damn it, I'm going to go and I'm going to make the most of this. And going there with that attitude, I made so many connections. I made so many lifelong friends. Like, oh, wow. I ran a retreat last weekend with a girl that I met there, so it brought so many opportunities. So like, I guess the greatest advice I can give to anyone is that if you feel like you're doing all the right things that you get taught in, like being like a good coach or a good businesswoman, and you're taking all those steps and you're still feeling stuck, there's a shadow or something that is not serving you that you're actually getting pleasure out of.
That's huge. What do you really feel like doing the work? What does that look like?
So I had to feel my feelings. So Bianca knows I don't like to do that very much. So I had to really, I guess, journal out the things that were holding me back in the sense that didn't make sense. So, you know, why am I still showing up in social media? Because I'd fully believe myself that I'm showing up. Why am I showing up in social media and people aren't coming to me? Why am I you know, not being recognized by my peers? You know, because I was never showing up. I wasn't showing up to my peers. I wasn't showing up on social media.
Oh, right.
So, but then I was in that victim mentality thinking, oh, well, why me? Woe is me. So I had to really journal that out, and the things that were actually the reason why I wasn't getting anywhere. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, because I always saw this disparity between the leadership you showed on social media, and then we would have our, you know, mastermind sessions, and you'd say things like, oh, I'm not saying the things I want to say. And I'm like, babe, you said it perfectly. And then it was like the vision that you had for yourself was you were like this meek little mouse when we would talk. And I'm like, babe, you're like a ferocious lion, inspiring and influencing women on your social media, but you're saying these great things, and then on the other side of it saying that you can't express yourself and you can't get the right words. So it was kind of like that inner critic was really on the other side. Just, you know, you constantly had this battle between a part of you saying that's not the right way, that's not a good enough way. And I guess what you're saying there is, by giving that part, by saying that to that inner critic part, you're only doing this so you can stay in victimhood, so that you can feel good about yourself, that you're in victimhood. And so you can hide away, but you've got these two parts of you, one that wants to be visible and one that wants to be complained that doesn't want to be visible, because both parts want you to be safe and successful and thriving. They just have completely opposite ways of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and so it's almost like, it's so funny because I thought, oh, she must have just needed that like external validation to be like, right now. But like you said, you'd already had plenty of awards before that. But it was the breakdown that you had before it that allowed you to break through to the other side. Because I mean, you know, I don't think anyone meeting you now would ever, you know, I even remember being on a call when you came through your own personal development many years ago. Was it 5 years ago? Was it longer?
No, it was 8 years ago.
Was that 8 years ago?
8 years ago, I think, yeah.
It's been a long journey, because even on that call, Kylie sort of spotlighted onto you, and it was just too much for you. You're actually so choked up in your voice. We had, like, Kylie had to just go, we'll just leave it with you for that. We'll just leave, hun, and we'll go on to the next person. But your turn to speak, you were just completely choked up. So that's giving me goosebumps now to think about that.
It makes me want to cry hearing about it. It's true. Yeah.
Because that was that whole part, right? Because of that abusive relationship, you kind of had internalized that domestic violence. So before you had actually a person in your life telling you those things. And then when you went on your own separate ways, you still like kind of carried that with you, because there's still an element,
it's that unconscious mind, isn't it? So it's all those stories that were told to me. And then eventually I'd look in the mirror and I'd still be telling myself that same thing, because it was still there.
Because it didn't match up. It even 8 years later, I'm like, the person you think you are is not the person that I can see you being, you know. And it wasn't even about highlight reels. It's like the amount of dedication that you have to put in over 8 years, and you've been certified in the art of transformational coaching. You've been doing this work nonstop for yourself, for other women. It's like you're no flash in the pan, you know, expert. You know, you're no like a cookie cutter coach, overnight success. Like got your certificate on the back of a cereal box. Like you're the real deal. And that's why I feel like now it's like she's just stepping out and going for it. She just like left it all behind. So therefore, it wasn't the award. It was tell me in the darkest moment what was of that breakdown that made it just go, I just got no time for you anymore.
I think the darkest moment was when I so deeply, I was starting to have that transformation of really knowing my mission and knowing what I want. And like, then that's when I realized who I was being wasn't allowing me to achieve that. So I think that was like, you know, I feel like crying even talking about it now, but you know, it's just like, I was just like, well, I'm not being that person. Like, and like, you know, sometimes I'd have like discussions with my husband and he'd talk about this person. I'm like, no, that's not her, because he'd see that person at home, like not out in the, and I'd be like, no, that's not her. And then I'd sit and think about it. Like I said to you, you have to actually face your shadows to work through it. And then
and this is your new husband, also.
Yeah,
your loving,
my fabulous
dedicated, beautiful, fabulous husband. Yes.
And then and I'd really think, oh my goodness, I'm actually being that person on the inside, so I need to shift that. And that was the hardest thing, like actually facing that and admitting that who you were saying you weren't, you actually were on the inside. Yeah, so that was really tough.
Well, I just really love how this conversation has evolved too, because, you know, a lot of times for people in COVID, in the fitness industry, like the start of the year is a scary time of the year, because everybody, you know, it's like motivating, but it takes a while because you've spent, you know, December, not really, you know, everybody's partying, and yet January is meant to be the year of New Year's resolutions, etc. And it can be a real sort of like scarcity minded time, but you have really had this evolution, even though you've had a fitness, you know, you've got My Fit Tribe, but you're also really stepped into this personal brand of Danni V, and taking the essence of what you've always done with empowering women through fitness, and you're helping empower women through their mindset and their health and their wellness, and taking up all of who you are and stepping into that next level. And you're just like, hey guys, yep, and I've already got 2 people signed for my 12-month. I've already got this membership done. I got this one. I didn't do any sales for it. They just all came to me. I'm like, that's you owning your magnetism. That's you really, you know, you spent all this time mastering your skills, and you have been showing up. You just like were showing up as your future self, and it's just taken the real life self to catch up to it.
So true.
You know, and then you've really like owned that mission. And I think that's really, all of those has really combined in this really charismatic, influential magnetism that just speaks really loudly. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you, B. You're amazing.
No, I'll cry.
We'll all cry.
Thanks for sharing that. That was really good to hear, Danni.
Oh, thank you, Susie. Thank you.
That's really kind of confronting, going, you know, like what you're saying you aren't, you actually are on the inside. I'm like, holy cow, that's true.
Yeah. And that's the most confronting aspect of, like, if you're stuck somewhere, there's a reason for it, and you're in control of your own emotions, you're in control of your own reality. You know, we learned that through the NLP coaching. So when you actually own that, that's where like the transformation will actually happen.
So cool. How awesome are we?